There's no need for now. Okay, where do you... let's continue. Let's play a game. Oh, no. We were not there. We were not there. Okay. Let's get back. Toxic terrorism. Garbage. Garbage. All I've been thinking about all week is garbage. I mean, we've got so much of it. I mean, we all have to run out of places to put this stuff eventually. We'll run out of places to put these things eventually. That's Sex, Lies, and Videotape, 1989. The story of Izzetin Akman's farm prompts a simple question. How did we get to a world in which plastic bag placed in a recycling bin in the United Kingdom becomes the bane of a Kurdish farmer 3,000 miles away in Turkey? The problem Vance Packard unpicked was one in which waste, however great in output and however deliberately produced, nevertheless stayed in the country in which it was discarded. Not anymore. Over the last 40 years, trash disposals has morphed from a local problem into a global one. Sure, there's a long history of waste being brought and sold, and there's a 20th century story to be told about the growing geographic and psychological displacement between waste generation and waste disposal. But in the 1980s, something peculiar started happening. Instead of going to your local landfill, some of your trash started traveling across national borders and even oceans. It went from being your... okay, I need to pick this word. I don't... detritus. Am I saying that? Detritus. They're showing me detritus one. What the fuck? Detritus meaning. Okay. Detritus. What the fuck, man? Detritus. Anyways, detritus meaning waste, debris, or any loose matter that is left behind something that breaks or fall off apart or is used. Detritus. Okay, it's fucking annoying word, man. Anyways, I had to come back here 3 times. Now I gotta do this again. Instead of going to your local landfill, some of your trash started traveling across national borders and even oceans. It went from being your detritus, something you drop into the nearest bin and never never thought about again, to your national export. And not waste per se, but waste movement became incomprehensibly profitable. This wasn't like other globalization stories that burst from the dusk of the Cold War. It wasn't like networks of organized crime which emanated out across Eastern Europe and beyond with the Soviet Union fall. It wasn't like the black market caviar trade that sprang forth from the mountains of the war torn Caucasus of the hijacked automobile and the sex trafficking business that surged with the dismemberment of Yugoslavia. This was a globalization story hiding in plain sight, in which the engine of profit became you. Over the last 40 years, great quantities of your garbage has been quietly relocated at a profit to the poor uh, countries of the world, often ending up in the states that not so long ago released themselves from Western imperialism, only to find they have been turned into receptacles of Northern consumerism. Okay, let's play a game. You come from a poor country, I come from a rich one. And the place where you were born has little money and less opportunity, but it has a bunch of real wealth. There are uh, there are forests. Is this their forest? Okay, forests, mines, cotton fields, oil palms, and millions of acres of fertile soil. Your only problem is that it's difficult to make use of it all. Long before you can. Why am I so fucked up by reading this shit, man? Shit, I can't. I need glasses or whatever. Long before you, what? Long before you or I can remember, my ancestors acquired much of it. And somehow, a generation later, even after my people have agreed to leave, your economy is still predicted on shipping your resources to me. It's an unjust I considered. So let me offer something back to you. What is it? Okay. I can't let you have your trees, no. But if I were to sell you all this old junk mail that may have been from them, I can't let you have a gold industry of your own. But what if I sold you the used cell phone that possess minuscule traces of gold that could have come from your land? I can't offer you your cotton fields, but how about this second-hand clothes? Fair deal? I don't think about it. I don't think this is a fair deal. Honestly, for hundreds of years, European empires enriched themselves by treating the southern hemisphere as a place from which they could take what they needed. This hasn't drastically changed, but U.S. grossmanship has instilled it with a mischievous new dimension. In the 1980s, the so-called global south increasingly became a place from which you not only took things but put them too, because these things were either too expensive, too dangerous, too unsightly, or too great in quantity to discard within your own borders. Poor countries no longer just propped up your living standards, they also cleaned up your environment. Today, okay, wait. They cleaned up, wait. Poor countries no longer just propped up your living standards, they also cleaned up your environment. By doing what? You are you are discarding waste to their country, and you think, okay, well, I get it. They um, recycled it. Yeah, they find a way to get money out of other people's trash. I understand it. So they got rich from that. That's what they are saying. Poor countries no longer just propped up your living standard, they also cleaned up your environment. Today's waste trade occasionally operates by covertly spewing loads of dumpster trash across the coasts and hills of Africa's and Asian and Latin American nations. But most of the time, it worked through some version of what I previously described, a chameleon attempt to convince the poor countries of the world that the things you throw away and which are often made of material that have been appropriated from their lands are invaluable economic opportunities they should pay for. Almost immediately, this was recognized as wrong. The word toxic terrorism and garbage imperialism, I think, are words that will be increasingly heard in the foreign country if we don't do something about it. A U.S. congressman insisted to his colleagues 3 months before the fall of, is that true? Before the fall of Berlin Wall in 1989, and yet over the next decade, as a few new world began to open up, a world of free-ranging capital and untrammeled. Am I saying that right? I gotta get. Am I untrammeled? Untrammeled. Untrammeled. Detritus. What the fuck is a detritus? Detritus, untrammeled, detritus. The fucking English is stupid. Fucking stupid words. This means garbage, by the way, or anything that is just got turned into garbage. Detritus. Fucking bullshit. Fucking English, man. Anyways, untrammeled, double M, yeah, untrammeled. I was saying it right. Okay. Untrammeled means not deprived of freedom of action or expression, not restricted or hampered. It describes someone or something that is able to act, develop, or follow freely without being limited, hindered, or impeded by rules, conventions, or controls. Okay, I understand. Untrammeled. It's actually a nice word, but who would use such a word? Fucking English again. They probably stole it from a different. Anyways, untrammeled. No, I lost where I was. Berlin Wall, we did that. Okay, let's do the Berlin Wall. These words, toxic terrorism and garbage imperialism, I think are words that will be increasingly heard in the foreign countries if we don't do something about it. A U.S. congressman insisted to his colleagues 3 months before the fall of Berlin Wall in 1989, and yet over the next decade, as a new wall began to open up, a world of free-ranging capital and untrammeled commerce, something odd happened. Outrage over trash exports continue. Yes, efforts to ban its movement were signed by dozens of nations. Yes, the waste trade kept getting exponentially more massive. What had begun in 1980s as the sporadic trafficking of dangerous but rather obscure forms of industrial residue, old asbestos, expired pesticides, spent airplane fluids had by the 1990s transmogrified, what the fuck, man? Transmogrified into the hourly movement of almost everything you can possibly imagine. Trash didn't merely globalize, it became a globalization pillar. Slimy plastic spoons, broken TV remotes, ragged, raggedy clothes. To this day, every day, To this day, every day, thousands of cargo containers of it gets dispatched thousands of miles around the world. One result of all of this offshoring of offshoring our consumption footprints has only encouraged waste. Again, what the fuck with this word, man? Proliferation. I gotta search up the meaning. Proliferation. Why did I challenge myself to be such a fucking tough book? But I fuck with it. I ain't gonna lie. It's challenging. It's English is stupid. But anyways, offshoring consumption footprints has only encouraged waste proliferation. Proliferation. Mm, I'm saying it right. Proliferation. Okay, I am saying it right. So yeah, proliferation is a rapid and often excessive increase or, or spread of something. Stupid. Okay, expansion. Fucking stupid. Okay, man. Okay. Let's continue. Proliferation. See, I lost myself now. Always. Okay, one result of all this offshoring. Let me get this. Okay, one result of all this. With a question mark. One result of all this, offshoring our consumption footprints has only encouraged waste proliferation. The more trash rich countries have sent away over the last 40 years, the more trash they have continued to produce. And yet, few citizens of the Netherlands or Canada would necessarily know to see it like this. For the waste that travels across the globe and often inflicts irreversible environmental damage is not the trash that to so much charging goes into the garbage bin and then the local landfills. It's the stuff you place in the recycling bin in the conviction that doing so is helping the planet. Recyclability is no lie, but in the 1990s you were encouraged to recycle all sorts of objects. Electronics, batteries, styrofoams, Tetra Pak, plastic, everything. When their ability to be effectively or infinitely restricted or resurrected, was difficult or downright impossible. Systemic overproduction was refrained as a narrow matter of personal ethic. As long as you choose the recycling bin, nothing was wrong. Yet much of what you are being led to believe was getting recycled uh, over the last generation of has never been helping the planet. It has the opposite effect of what you have imagined. It functions as a Trojan horse of pollution, redistributing material packed with toxins onto poor corners of the world, all while allowing wealthier nations to engage in what has essentially become a morality performance, repelled with blue bins and chasing narrows and pity slogans uh, that absorbs consumerist guilt and dissuades self-examinations about why we insist on producing as much as we do. And as a result, across much of the global south, enormous and complex trash economies now dominate, like the arrival of potato in Europe or the reintroduction of the horse into the Americas, the impact of sending millions upon millions of pounds of foreign synthetics, new or used, into lands with no history of or capacity for handling them is a story we might or fully come to understand decades from now. But already it's no exaggeration to say that across of much equator today, waste gathering, it's sorting it, or we are again, waste gathering it, sorting it, burning it, has come to replace thousands of years of farming as the default occupation of humanity. Uh, Urbanizing often entails entering slums and eking out sub-existence by scalping scraps networks of the world's 50 largest dump sites. All but two are to be found in developing nations, informally employing many millions. And again, this occurs not because most of these countries are necessarily poor. On the contrary, it occurs because many are rich in minerals and metals and croplands and flesh waters, that those very places full of such desirable resources came to be repositories. Wait. I need to search this word before I fuck it up. Repositories. It means just places you for your unwanted garbage. Yeah, it's a repositories. I know this word, but I just don't want to fuck it up. Repositories. It's just a place, the central storage location. Yeah, repository. Yeah, it's that's exactly what it is. Repository is one, repositories, and that's multiple. Where was we? Yeah, came from to be repositories for your unwanted garbage. It's not something happened. What? Some. It's not some happenstance irony. They are in, interconnected stories that can be traced back to the later years of the Cold Wars. Okay, many books have been written about trash. It's an important topic, one that often stands as proxy for value systems and how society, rich, Raj, functions. How often is your trash collected? Is it managed by the state or outsourced? To whom is it outsourced? If the handling of its trash points to certain deep truths about society, what does the globalized movement of waste have to tell us about our world today? This is a book about why your trash started to travel between continents and how the seemingly pedestrian act of throwing something away spawned an earth spanning exchange that functions like a funhouse mirror inversion of globalized economies of extraction, production, and consumption. 40 years after it, it first began crossing ocean, it's hard to imagine a more incisive barometer of international hierarchies and inequities than the question of who must accept waste and why. And to be clear, the question is not one of mere aesthetics. By this century's end, the stuff we discard will be emerged as the greatest unchecked contributors to climate change, sending shiploads of it, millions of tons of sequestered carbon injected with countless what toxic toxins to poor nations amount to a pitiful invasion of responsibility by those countries that have the greatest obligation to rein in their material outputs and confront a climate crisis overwhelming of their own making. But before I continue, confession, I began my investigation in I began my investigation into the geopolitics of garbage, probably not unlike a person reading these words, unclear as to why the waste trade exists and how it quite uh, concerns me. Beyond a vague premonition that trash from a rich country probably shouldn't be mashed into a 20 foot cargo container and dispatched to an impoverished country. I still cannot claim any credentials as an environmentalist. I have little expertise on the complexities of how the chemical byproducts of natural gas can crack into polyethylene or terephthalate and then proceed to produce a see-through bottle of Gatorade. I still eat meat, but pause. I still eat meat, but avoid plastic when I can. Even as I remain skeptical about what role, if any, individual morality plays in addressing the world's plastic pandemic. But after innumerable flights, 19 bus rides, 14 train journeys, 6 ferry voyage, countless taxi trips, and the odd rickshaw jaunt after a night in a one-star Guatemalan hotel that featured squadrons of cockroaches scrambling along my foot in concert with several geckos slithering across my walls. Bro, you are being through a lot of shit. Shit. Uh, um, After dispensing 6,000 shillings to a pair of police officers in Nairobi. Okay, oh, shit. Oh, he's going somewhere. he's, He's going somewhere. After dispensing 6,000 shilling to a pair of police officer in Nairobi who pulled me out of my taxi, what? And into a frightening cell for not having my passport on my person. What? Oh, hold up. I need to read this again. He say, after dispensing 6,000 shilling, you are dispensing 6,000 shilling to a pair of police officers in Nairobi who pulled me out of my taxi and into a frightening cell for not having my passport on my person. Well, purchase something something nice for our wives. That's what they asked him, I guess. After learning to never wear shorts to an interview in the balmy highlands of Java, and to always sip your tea and nod. This is fucking amiably. I don't know how I'm saying this. I know what it means. Fucking. Anyways, when being hosted in the forest innas of Turkey, and after years spent roaming 5 continents loaded with jaw-dropping jungles and waterfalls and volcanoes and beaches and deserts, archaeological ruins, precisely none of which I saw, living instead out of a backpack and frequenting frequenting only the most hideous and petrifying landfills and ports and slum and those places had to offer. Here's what I do now. Oh, here's what I do know. Globalized garbage is a bizarre, illogical industry that, okay, that's what it say. I gotta read it again. I don't understand. We've been through a lot of shit, but then he's coming back to say, talk about garbage. Okay, you got 6,000 taken off by police officers in Nairobi. They pulled you out of the taxis, and then you end up in a cell, frightened, because you didn't have your passport on your person, whatever what that means. And they ask you to purchase something nice for their wives. And then you, after that, you say you're learning that you shouldn't wear shorts in Java, and you always have to nod and sip the tea after you nod, I guess. Okay. Yeah, this is Turkey. This is also Turkey. That's what he's been through in Turkey. Okay. I need to nod and be respectful while drinking the tea. And after 2 years spent roaming 5 continents loaded with jaw-dropping jungles and waterfalls and volcanoes and beaches and deserts and archaeological ruins, precisely none of which I saw, living instead out of a backpack and frequenting only the most hideous and petrifying landfills and ports and slums and those places had to offer. Here's what I do know. Globalized garbage is a bizarre, illogical industry. The companies that generate the bulk of what you consume, Coca-Cola, Nestle, Apple, Samsung, Procter and Gamble, whatever their company is, Unilever, are households name crossword puzzle clues, publicly traded entities. You know them. You may own stock in them. You may know someone who works for them. You may work for one of them yourself. The companies that reach down into your recycling bin and rinse out the last rinsed drop of profit, it's not just that you haven't heard of many of them. It it would be almost impossible to do so. There are post boxes in Anaheim or Hong Kong. There are kinship networks of Nigerian and Indian and Lebanese and Chinese. Uh, they work out of slap together warehouse in Port Klang or Dar es Salaam. They changed names from one month to another. They don't have websites. They don't have WhatsApp numbers. Google Translate, a cousin in Newark or Croydon. Sure. When it comes to most major commodities such as steel or oil, the market is lorded over by legendary trading houses such as Cargill or Trafigura. But when it comes to the biggest commodity of all, everything humanity tosses away, you tend to be dealing with grifters and hustlers. They learn market prices by scrolling through internet forums. They can examine a container of uh, dirt, dirt, dirt cake plastic or battered copper wiring and have a good sense of where it came from and where it should be sent next. In the world of scrap, all you really need is a smartphone. Nathan Fletcher, a former Glencore scrap steel trader based in the post-Soviet republics, told me the most important thing is knowing who to know. I was told by Patty Moore, one of California's biggest plastics traders, when you think of the trash trade, think of the drug trade. Theodore Nita, a Romanian state prosecutor who tracks waste shipments from Western Europe, explained to me only trash moves from rich places to poor. They owe their existence to globalization, but in many ways they operate in defiance of it, wedding open legalistic loopholes in international trade clausule, exporting the murky definition, definitional differences separating waste from scraps from resources and prospering off the fact that sure enough of the 40,000 cargo containers that will get loaded or unloaded in parts of Shenzhen or Rotterdam today. I heard this before, man. This it doesn't seem. I heard this before. I read this in Rich Dad Poor Dad. fractions are opened and fewer still are inspected. In a world in which we seem to possess a preponderance of data about what goes where, even the broad brush parameters of the waste trade remains anyone's best guess. The European Anti-Fraud Office estimates illegal waste trafficking to be more profitable than human trafficking, while the United Nations recently came to the conclusion that over the last 30 years, the global trade in plastic has been 40% higher than previously believed, meaning that for every 2 pieces of plastic thought to have been transported around the world since 1992, the first year such statistics got tracked, there have in fact been 3 pieces, a revelation that turns what was once $1 trillion annual business into something more valuable than the global weapons, timber, and wheat trades combined. As for Interpol's in 2017, it's devoted 30 days and the considerable heft of its resources, expertise to attempt to understand where exactly your garbage goes. More than 40 countries participated. Dozens of ports were monitored. Highways were surveilled. Countryside were patrolled. The greatest revelation, that's a question mark. The greatest revelation, and not the hundreds of instances of waste caught illegal entering West Africa and Southeast Asia, or the tens of millions of dollars in undeclared profit. No, it was the fact that almost no waste trader anywhere in the world appeared compelled to disguise or hide what they were sending. With the illegal lumber or ivory trade, countries are losing commodities. Joseph Parks, or Paul, I don't know though you say that in France, in French. Joseph Paul Parks, whatever, who coordinated the Interpol investigations, told when waste exits their borders, they tend to be losing liability. The incentive is to just let it go. We are talking about an unbelievably massive business. Such was the strange, evasive, unbelievably massive business of globalized garbage I set out to try to understand. And to do so, I thought it best to attack in depth. A different country, a different form of waste, a different story of how and why it got there, and what it seemed to be doing to our planet. Part 1, Toxic Tropics. Banana Republic. when the trumpet sounded, everything was prepared on earth, and Jehovah gave the word to Coca-Cola. And who the fuck is Jehovah? This is some bullshit. This is some fabricated story. Anyways, Jehovah gave the word to Coca-Cola Inc., Anaconda, Ford Motors, and other corporations. Okay, this is some business conversation. Jehovah, yeah, man, Jehovah, sound like a Bible story, but it's business, world of business. Yeah, when the trumpet sounded, everything was prepared on earth, and Jehovah gave the word to Coca-Cola Inc., Anaconda, Ford Motors, and other corporations. The United Fruit Corporation or Fruit Company reserved for itself the most juicy piece, the central coast of my world, delicate waste of America. Pablo Neruda, United Fruit Corporation, 1950. Puerto Barrios may be Guatemala's biggest port, but it's an unassuming and squalid place, a hot concrete town comprised of thousands or so low-slung homes crowding grid run of unpaved roads. Am I saying that right? From Guatemala City, you reached it by a seven house pass, right? Through the Sierra de las Minas. The final stretch of which feature miles upon miles of Doro and Chiquita cargo truck backed up along a one-lane highway that crawls its way from the to the Caribbean coast, and each shipping container bears a refrigeration system in okay. Each shipping container bears a refrigeration system emblazoned with a mattress-sized replica of that small sticker found on the bananas at your local supermarket. Some may also contain cocaine, okay, and so many Guatemalans claim. My bad. Where the highway meets the sea at Puerto Barrios waterfronts, no more than a mile or two long, you encounter port workers whiling away in the last of the sweat afternoon, sipping of a bottle of Galo beer. Iguanas sun themselves on the wooden docks extending out over a porcelain blue sea splashed with brown runoff that might be swayed. Mangry stray dogs sniff outsiders and chase them for sports. Why are they doing that? This dumb shit that I would. This is something that will make me not go to Guatemala. If dogs are just walking around, it's just fucked up, man. Shit, I don't fuck with dogs. I mean, I do, but you have to contain them if they don't listen. Okay, they cannot just chase you around and you just let them. Anyways, I'm gonna leave this.